It begins with a sound, distant, almost unnoticeable at first, a tremor in the fabric of normal, a disruption in the air, in the capital of another land, a land that isn't supposed to be a battleground, Qatar, a place of wealth, diplomacy, alliances. Something breaks. An explosion rocks the American air base in Doha. But this isn't just an event for the headlines. This isn't just a clash of nations, a rogue missile, a security breach. No, it is something deeper, something ancient, something prophetic. We've built our lives, our emotions, our identities, even our sense of peace, on the illusion that the world will remain the way we expect it to, that things will keep functioning, that the systems will hold, that power will protect, that might makes right. But when an airbase, a fortress, is shaken, when missiles fly in places meant to be neutral, stable, untouched, it's not just the ground that trembles. It's the foundation of everything we trusted, the illusion of permanence, the deception of safety. We've placed our hope in the wrong strongholds. We believed that location could protect us, that alliances would insulate us, that technology, armies, agreements would shield us. But the shaking of Doha is the shaking of our systems, the shaking of what we thought could never be touched. It is the same with the soul. The attack is not just on buildings of metal and stone. It is mirrored in the inner temple. The airbase is the symbol of what we trust in. When that falls, it reveals what we've really built our lives upon. So many people walk through life unaware they've made their emotions into gods. They've enthroned their feelings. They've made peace into an idol, only as long as circumstances cooperate. But the moment the storm hits, the moment the shell explodes, their peace vanishes. Why? Because it was never real. It was a false peace built on a false structure. And now the structure is falling. Do you feel it? That ache, that fear, that dread, that sense that something is slipping, something is off, that no matter how hard you try to keep it together, your heart is cracking. That's not just depression. That's not just anxiety. That is the sign of the shaking. It is not your enemy. It is your signal, the signal that something deeper is calling to you. The illusion must fall. And so it does. We feel the sorrow not because sorrow is the enemy, but because we placed our hope in the wrong thing. We feel anger not because anger appeared from nowhere, but because our trust was in what could never sustain us. The negative emotions are the cracks in the system. And when the system begins to fail, those feelings rise up like smoke from a burning altar. This is not the time to medicate your pain with distractions. This is not the moment to numb your feelings with entertainment, with noise, with pride. This is the moment to look straight into the trembling, to stand in the breach, to ask the question, what have I really built my life upon? The shaking is mercy. Do you hear that? The shaking is mercy, because if the system never failed, you'd never leave it. You'd live your life trusting in a broken framework. You'd die never knowing there was something more. So the base is attacked. The ground is shaken. The system cracks, not to destroy you, but to awaken you. And when it all begins to collapse, when you feel the flood rise and the fire consume, don't resist it. Let it fall. Let the false fortress come crashing down. Let the illusions be exposed, because only then can you see what is eternal. Only then can you find the unshakable. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. Every idol, every fake strength, every counterfeit peace, it all must fall, so that only what is unshakable may remain. Let it fall, let it burn, because what's coming next, what rises from the ruins, will be real. The fortress is not where we think it is. We've been taught to look to the outside, to the visible, the tangible, the measurable, for our security. We build our towers in places we believe cannot fall. We anchor our hopes to nations, to alliances, to wealth, to influence. But the attack on the American air base in Doha reveals something deeper. It exposes the myth of the fortress. It reveals that even the mightiest outposts, backed by the strongest military, resting in lands far from conflict, are not beyond reach. And if they can fall, if even those foundations can be struck, what does that say about what we've trusted? The human heart builds fortresses too, not just of stone and steel, but of pride, of control, of self, will. We surround ourselves with layers of defense, emotional walls meant to keep the pain out, the truth out, even God out. We tell ourselves we're safe because we don't feel. We're strong because we don't break. We're in control because we don't let anything touch us. But that is the great deception. Just as the missiles that streak through the skies of Doha defy geography, our personal attacks often bypass every false shield we've created. One moment we feel secure, untouchable, and then something hits. A word, a betrayal, a loss, a diagnosis, a fear, and suddenly the base we built inside ourselves is breached. The sirens go off, and we realize we weren't as protected as we thought we were. The fortress was never the fortress. You can live your entire life thinking you've built your strength in the right place, only to find out it was built on sand. The appearance of peace is not the presence of peace. The illusion of security is not security. And so many walk through life with smiles on their faces and wounds in their hearts, pretending the attack never happened, pretending the pain isn't real, but the breach doesn't lie. The fire exposes what's inside. The shaking reveals what was always weak. We are taught in the world to harden ourselves, to rely on power, performance, image. But the truth is, when we build our identity on these things, we are constructing fortresses that cannot stand. You think your strength is in your job, but the market crashes. You think it's in your health. Then comes the diagnosis. You think it's in your relationships. Then comes the betrayal. One strike and the fortress falls. Because it was never the fortress, there is a voice that speaks through the ruins, a voice that says, "Come out from the walls you've built. Come out from the pride, from the fear, from the armor that never protected you. Come to the real fortress." And that fortress is not a place. It is not made of concrete or confidence or control. It is not built with hands. It is not formed in arrogance. It is made in surrender. The true fortress is not the one that stands tall and impenetrable. The true fortress is the one that bows low, the one hidden in humility, the one that doesn't deny weakness but embraces it, the one that doesn't hide pain but lays it bare. It is in that surrender that you become truly untouchable. Not because nothing will strike you, but because nothing will destroy you. The systems of this world are crumbling. The visible strongholds are coming down. What we once trusted to keep us safe is now under fire. But this is not cause for fear. It's the call to awaken. The air base is not the fortress. The government is not the fortress. Your emotions, your ego, your pride, they are not the fortress. Stop hiding behind them. Stop living as if they can save you. When the base is attacked, it's not just about geopolitics. It's about the soul. It's about what we run to when the war begins. The real battle is not in the desert. It's in your heart. The missiles may fall on Doha, but the shaking is coming for all of us. Not to destroy, but to reveal. Not to kill, but to call. And when everything else falls, when every false wall has crumbled and every illusion has burned away, one fortress will remain. And in that fortress you will find peace not dependent on circumstances, joy not built on outcomes, and strength not made of pride but of grace. But first, you must come out of the wrong one, because the fortress you trusted was never the fortress. There is a fire that burns, but not the kind you see on the news. Not the kind that lights up the sky in a flash of missiles, or the kind that leaves smoke over military outposts. This fire burns deeper. It burns within, and just like the strike on that American air base in Doha, this fire comes without warning. It strikes where you least expect. It touches what you thought was untouchable, and suddenly everything is exposed. Not just in the world, but in you. You see, the fire doesn't just destroy, it reveals. That's the part we don't often understand. We fear the flame, we curse the shaking, we resist the trial. But what if the fire was never sent to ruin you, but to reveal you? What if the burning was not your end, but your beginning? The base in Hall wasn't just a location. It was a symbol of strength, of protection, of American presence in the heart of the Middle East. But the moment it came under attack, what did it show the world? That even the symbols can fall, that what looks secure on the outside can still be penetrated, that no matter how many walls you build, something deeper will always be tested. It's no different with us. We build our identities like outposts. We take pride in the image, in the exterior, in what others see. We put our trust in performance, in our titles, in how well we appear to have it all together. But then the fire comes. Maybe it's a moment of failure. Maybe it's a loss that knocks the breath out of your chest. Maybe it's fear you've hidden for years finally rising to the surface. Whatever it is, it burns. And it feels like you're coming undone, but you're not coming undone. You're coming into the light. When the fire comes, it doesn't create weakness. It reveals the weakness that was already there. It doesn't invent the anger, the bitterness, the fear. It simply draws them out. Just like the missile strike revealed the vulnerability of the air base, the trials in your life reveal the vulnerable places in your soul, and that's not to shame you, it's to save you, because what's hidden can't be healed. What's buried can't be broken off. What's denied can't be redeemed. We spend so much of our lives trying to control the narrative. We want to show the world a picture of strength. We want to look untouchable, unshaken. But the fire doesn't care about the image. It only cares about what's real. It strips away the surface. It peels back the pretense, and it leaves you standing in the truth of who you are, so that finally you can be transformed. That's what pain does. That's what sorrow does. That's what pressure does. It opens the doors to rooms in your heart you've been locking for years. It shows you the wounds you forgot you had. It shines light into the corners you kept in the dark. And it asks you one question: will you face what's inside? Because in that fire, you are not alone. The heat isn't sent to consume you. It's sent to purify you, to separate the gold from the dross, to remove the things that never belonged in you to begin with. The pride, the fear, the bitterness, the shame, these are not your identity. They are the chains that have held you, and the fire has come to break them. That's why you must not run from the flame. Don't curse the shaking. Don't try to extinguish what's meant to set you free. If the trial is revealing something ugly, thank God. If the pressure is making you feel things you never wanted to feel, thank God, because only what comes to the surface can be surrendered. Only what is exposed can be healed. You see, when a nation is attacked, it reassesses its defenses. It looks at what failed, what was weak, what must change. It's the same with you. When the fire comes, it's your moment to rebuild, not as you were, but as you were always meant to be. Stronger, real, whole. This is not the end. This is the uncovering. This is the unveiling of the true battle, not out there, but in here, not in the clash of nations, but in the clashing of your soul. The fire is not your enemy, it is your invitation, because what the enemy meant to destroy you, heaven will use to deliver you, and then, after the strike, after the flames have scorched the ground, after the smoke has cleared, and after the fortress has fallen, what remains? What remains is the question we never ask when everything is going well. We don't ask it when our plans are succeeding. We don't ask it when the systems are working, when the strongholds are holding. But the shaking changes that. When the air base is hit, when the mighty outpost of safety is turned into rubble suddenly, what remains becomes everything, and it's the same with you. When life hits you, when the fire exposes, when the illusion collapses, what's left standing? That's when you find out what's real. See, it's easy to speak of faith, of strength, of purpose when everything is going according to your design. But faith is not proven in the absence of fire. It's proven in the aftermath. What remains after the shaking, that is the measure of who you are, or more truthfully, who you've become, because the shaking doesn't just destroy, it transforms. All throughout history, remnants remain. When empires fall, when temples are torn down, when judgment strikes the land, God always preserves a remnant, a people, a spark, a root, something small, but something real, not dressed in gold, not admired by men, not recognized by the world, but chosen, refined, unshaken. And you, if you will stand through the fire, if you will let the false fall away, you will find yourself among that remnant. But you cannot rise if you cling to what is crumbling. You cannot stand if you're still reaching back to rebuild the false fortress. Let it go. Let what was be finished. Let the shaking do its full work, because what it leaves behind is not lesser, it's purer. It's not weaker, it's real. It's the remnant that survives the fire, the remnant that is not made of pride or performance or pretense, but of truth. A spirit that knows where its strength comes from, a heart that doesn't need the approval of the world to keep beating, a soul that has seen the worst and come through it, still burning, but now with purpose. Some of you are in that moment right now. You've been struck. You've been hit where it hurt most. You've watched your support systems fall apart, your emotions run dry, your strength fail you. You've tried everything the world said would work, and none of it held. And now, all you have left is the voice in your spirit, the whisper, the ember, good, because that ember is more powerful than every fortress you ever built. That ember is what God breathes on. That ember is the seed of the remnant. And if you stop trying to smother it with the ashes of the past, you'll find it's still alive and it's waiting for you to rise. You don't have to rise as who you were. The fire took that version. That version needed to fall. The version of you that needed control, needed validation, needed applause. That version couldn't stand in the coming storm. But the version that's left, the version rising from the ashes, was made for what's coming. The world is being sifted, nations are trembling, structures are collapsing, the visible is failing, but the invisible, those rooted in truth, those built not on sand but on the rock, those will rise, not with crowns, not with applause, but with authority. The authority that comes only from fire-tested faith. So don't fear what was lost. Don't mourn the false fortress. Let it burn. Let the base fall. Because if it wasn't real, you never needed it. And if it didn't survive the fire, it wasn't meant to. You are still here. You are breathing. You are standing, even if by a thread, and that is enough. Because the remnant doesn't need strength to begin again. It needs only willingness. Willingness to be rebuilt by something greater. Willingness to rise not in pride but in surrender. And when you rise this time, it won't be like before. You won't need the fortress. You won't need the mask. You won't need the illusion. You'll walk in a quiet fire, the kind that doesn't shout, but cannot be put out. Because what remains after the fire is the only part of you that was ever truly alive.